In this video, we're tracking significant storms in the Central Plains. The Storm Prediction Center has put out an enhanced risk of severe weather with a 30% chance of damaging winds. Also, we're keeping an eye on the Atlantic Ocean as it looks like hurricane season is getting off to a very interesting start. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. Today's just another one of them days where we have a lot to talk about, so we're gonna skip the intro and just get right into talking about the weather. Here's a big old view of the United States of America. As you can see, it's pretty quiet out there for most of us, but as of the time that I'm filming this video, we do have a mesoscale convective system of storms moving through the Kansas City area into northern Missouri. That's eventually going to make it into western portions of Illinois before it eventually starts to weaken out. But right now we do have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. But once again, by the time this video goes up, this is going to be getting out of here and it's not going to be something that we have to worry about. But what this thing is going to do is it's going to set the stage for a bigger severe weather outbreak to happen later today, okay? As this moves through, behind it, we're going to have some clearing, we're going to have some destabilization, and we're going to see the rapid development of severe thunderstorms later today in Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri especially, okay? So we can take a better look at that on the weather models. All right, we're going to start off with the HRRR model, and instead of just starting off with the composite reflectivity simulated radar, let's actually take a look at the ingredients, everything that's coming together to make this storm happen, okay? I think that might be interesting for some of you. The first thing we're going to look at is the temperature map here, and the reason I want to show this is just to explain how much energy is out there. We're going to look at various forms of energy for storms today, but one of them that's often overlooked is just simple heat. Heat in the atmosphere can transition into just plain out energy for storms to form updrafts and all that stuff. So here we are at 8 a.m. Now let's move this into the future around the time this video goes up, around 12 p.m. today. We've already got temperatures in the 90s up in the panhandle of Oklahoma, down into southwestern Kansas, up in the target area today, even, you know, at 12 p.m. And remember, we just had a big rainstorm move through. We're already up at 88, 84 degrees. Now, let me push this a little bit further into the future. Here we are at 4 p.m. and look at this big old bulb of 100-degree temperatures in northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, okay? And pretty much all of Texas is in the 90s, and even up north here into the Dakotas, we're talking about temperatures in the 80s, okay? So even though we are going to be talking about a frontal boundary, a cold front moving through today, as you can see, there is no sharp defining area where temperatures change on this map, except for over here where that mesoscale convective system that we were just looking at on radar is going to be moving through. But that's not actually going to be the driving force behind the storms today. If you're in Texas or Oklahoma, buddy, stay inside if you can, man. That is going to be blistering heat, and also you got to think that the humidity is going to be pretty high out there too. So yeah, that's one of the things that's going to spark our storms in this area today. Another thing we got to look at are the dew points, okay? Now, here's something really cool that you don't usually get to see on dew point maps like this, especially in this portion of the United States. You can clearly see the swirling of the low pressure system here. Let me actually fast forward this for you. Look at that. You see the low pressure system just kind of meandering through this morning, and then during the heating of the day, whenever all these storms pop up, it kind of, you know, messes with all of the moisture in the air. But you can see there are a couple areas where storms are forming. A dry line is forming on the southeasternly part, and that's going to actually feed up northwesternly into these areas of Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri and cause big time storms today. And just, you know, outside of the, you know, the motion of where this moisture is going, just look at these values. We've got dew points in the mid 70s right there where Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas meet, okay? That's prime time moisture levels for big time thunderstorms, okay? If you live out in this area, make sure you take today pretty seriously, okay? The number one big threat is going to be damaging winds. The tornado threat is there. I do believe we're going to have tornadoes today, but it's on the lower end. And you know, I know how, you know, you guys in Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri are. If it ain't a big tornado day, you ain't worried about it. Well, today could be one of those days where, you know, just a regular severe thunderstorm is actually going to be pretty significant because of all these parameters that we're looking at. And even as we go into tomorrow, we get those dew points back up into the 60s and 70s, and we are going to be talking about severe weather in the same area again tomorrow. Now, we talk a lot about energy on this channel, you know, energy required to make thunderstorms, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. It's not just the heat, it's not just the moisture, there's also an element of buoyancy in the atmosphere that's really important to include include in your weather forecast. Okay, you can have all the heat in the world, you can have all the high dew points in the world, but if you don't have a convergence of boundaries or something providing buoyancy and the ability for updrafts to form, then you don't have storms. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the convective available potential energy. Just think of it as a composite model that puts together all of these different forms of energy that are required for thunderstorms to form, and then kind of puts it on a unit scale for us so that we can understand where the highest available potential energy areas are. And let's put this into motion. And as you can see, you can even see the swirling of the low pressure system here on the convective energy model. Look at that. And then here we are around 4 p.m. today. We've got some areas up here in Nebraska that are approaching 5,000 joules per kilogram of convective available potential energy. Okay, so that is, there are just powder cakes in the sky just waiting to explode at that point, and they will. Okay, as you can see, as we go later on into the day, when those storms start to form, you can see exactly where they start to form up at, and they're moving in the direction of the convective energy. Okay, so they're kind of like eating it as they go along. You'll see that the convective energy actually depletes after the storm moves by. Why is that? Because it's fuel for storms, and when the storms use it, it's gone. So yeah, that's kind of what the convective energy values are looking like today. And just looking at this map, I can already tell you that it's going to be a very significant day for severe weather in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, maybe even some parts of southwestern Iowa too. All right, now let's put all that together and look at what the simulated radar could look like later today. It's not going to look exactly like this, okay, but this is going to show us, kind of what the storms could look like. Here we are at 6 a.m. This is, in the past, but I wanted to show you that mesoscale convective system of storms that we were just looking at on radar, what that looked like earlier this morning, and this is about what it looks like right now. And then that's going to skedaddle out of here. Once again, there will be some storms in western Illinois, maybe even down in the St. Louis region and portions of central Missouri, but these are not going to be severe in nature. In fact, these are actually really good for this area, because I do believe that if it wasn't for this little system of storms that's moving through, this area would probably have a much higher chance of very significant severe weather later today. If this is still hanging around today at 2 p.m., it's going to drastically decrease the ability for the atmosphere to destabilize there. Okay, but out west here in Kansas and Nebraska especially, look at all the destabilization that's going on there. Okay, the sun's out, it's 100 degrees outside, the cape in the atmosphere is just building up, it's ready to blow up. Let's see what happens with that as we push this radar into the future. Look at here, right along that very hard to see boundary underneath the low pressure system, we actually see the formation of supercell thunderstorms right around 7 p.m. this evening. So this is going to be an evening time, severe weather outbreak right here in central Nebraska, south central Nebraska, western Kansas. We have what looks like to me possibly some supercell thunderstorms forming, and it's at this point, at the earliest point of the storm formation areas. I do believe that's when the tornadic probabilities are going to be highest. Okay, it's still a low chance today, but I do think that anywhere in Nebraska, Kansas, and maybe even northwestern Missouri should be on the lookout today for possibly some tornadoes to be forming. Okay, especially right here at the beginning of this big severe weather outbreak. Those look like they could be supercells. Those look like storms that can pop up and take advantage of all that heat and all of that convective available potential energy all for themselves. Okay, and if one storm can grasp and get rooted down and take advantage of all that stuff, it's going to be a very intense storm with a very strong updraft. And we do have that southwesternly low level jet that's going to help create some cyclonic rotation in these storms. So watch out for that. If you live in southern Nebraska, western Kansas, maybe even central Kansas, very good chance today that somebody sees a tornado. Not a widespread tornado outbreak, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple up there around 7 to 9 p.m. this evening. Now looky here, even though it's really warm up here and really warm down here, we do have some very intense storms with very heavy rain in eastern Nebraska and southern Iowa, and we still got some big storms forming down here in Kansas. Let's keep pushing this forward, and this is where it gets interesting. Okay, midnight tonight, this is now turning into a linear system of storms. So we had the supercell thunderstorms back here, they're moving east, they're going to form up with that outflow boundary from the mesoscale convective system. Our little makeshift cold front's going to be moving down through here, and every time a raindrop falls, it cools the atmosphere down here, and it's going to create a cold pool of air that's going to drive this line of storms down to the south. Okay, so let's watch that happen. happen. Here we are around 2 a.m. Once again, it looks like even western Illinois is going to be included in, one of the more dangerous areas of the storms, as this right here looks to me like a very damaging wind event as that moves down into portions of western Illinois, northern Missouri. Look out St. Louis around 2 or 3 a.m. tonight as these storms come through. Once again, that looks like a heavy wind event. Winds in excess of 60 miles an hour, maybe in a couple places 70 miles an hour, are definitely going to cause problems with wind damage as we go later on into the evening, okay? And then as you can see, 10 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, everything just kind of weakens out and nothing really happens with it. But going into the future even further, on Friday, okay, right in this same area, we do have the formation of some new thunderstorms. Look at this, new thunderstorms along that outflow boundary, along the cold front, or the whatever boundary you want to call it there, from Kansas into Missouri. We are going to see the formation of some new thunderstorms. These will be severe. These will be intense, okay? And some of these may even get intense into Indiana, all right? Heavy rain, cloud, ground, lightning, isolated hail, and damaging winds could be possible out there. But really our attention is being refocused back here into this area, Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, southern portions of Nebraska, maybe even into the panhandle of Texas there, as that low pressure system is still spinning out here, and it's still working with all those ingredients that we looked at for the day before. Pushing this forward into motion, look at all those storms, man. That is going to be a very colorful and active weather day. You're going to look at the weather map, and there's going to be severe thunderstorm warnings all over the place there in Kansas. And I do believe that the tornado threat on this day is going to be a little bit, less than today, but this widespread severe weather threat is still going to be there from Indiana into Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas, and maybe even some big-time hailers over here in the front range of the Rocky Mountains. And then as we keep pushing this forward, you can see the same thing's going to happen here Saturday night, where early in the morning all this is going to dissipate, only to allow for more storms to reform the next day in the same area. So we're kind of in that pattern here where we've got a lot of Gulf moisture coming up, and we've got these low pressure systems that are going to come up and interact with that moisture and cause storms in that area right there. And that boundary, that area where storms are forming, will slowly move east as we go into the future. So I do believe that this kind of storm system will eventually start affecting areas like Arkansas, Tennessee, Western Kentucky in a couple weeks, because we're going to see that slowly move to the east. Just real quick, another thing, on top of all the severe thunderstorms, we're also going to see a tremendous amount of rain from these storms. So anywhere that's in the red, the browns, or even the purples in southern Iowa, northwestern Missouri, much of Illinois and Indiana, if you live in a flood-prone area, keep your eyes on those creeks and streams, because I do believe this is also going to be a pretty prolific flooding event for you guys as we get a lot of rain coming in. And once again, this is, these summer storms that happen in June, July, they're different than storms that happen during any other time of the year. The moisture values are so high, the precipitable water values are so high that, even the littlest storm is going to drop tremendously more rain than you would see during a storm in, August or, February. So you definitely got to watch this area up here for flooding. And, if we look at the long-term forecast here on the GFS and we pull it all the way out, man, you can literally see just the river of moisture that's pouring into the eastern part of the United States, thanks to all of these low pressure systems that are going to kind of cut up this way and just allow for that moisture to come down here. So, from Louisiana into Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, just get ready for the rain. I mean, it's going to be rainy, son. It's going to be wet, and it's going to flood probably. So get ready for that. All right, now that we've talked about our severe weather here in the United States, I do want to take the end of this video to kind of touch on the tropics, okay? We've been watching a couple things here and there. We had our tropical storm Claudette. We had the potential for another hurricane to form just a couple days ago, according to the GFS, but that kind of went away. But now we have another really interesting situation where we possibly have a big storm forming over here off the west coast of Africa, and it's going to set its sights like this, and it's going to go towards the United States. And, this is how a lot of our hurricanes form during hurricane season. But the reason this is so interesting is that this is so early in the season, and usually early season hurricanes, form down here. right? It's very rare that you get something this far south that actually makes it into this area. You know, we get storms that form here all the time. Sometimes they get flung up this way, but something that's strong enough to be all of the impeding factors that are keeping it away during this time of year and actually comes up this way, that's rare. And, you know, we do have the GFS showing this. We have some of the, you know, the Euro ensemble showing this. And, you know, the signal is strong for a storm to form and actually make it at least into the Caribbean. So I do want to talk about that a little bit, because this, you know, if this actually pans out, and once again, the GFS, you know, especially once you get past 4, 5, 6 days, it's a little wonky. But if this actually pans out, this may be our first very significant tropical system that we've had to talk about all year. So before we look at the GFS model, let's actually look at something else here. So this is an official outlook from the National Hurricane Center. This is the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook. As you can see, that little X there and the cone of uncertainty outside of it shows that there's a 40% chance that a tropical cyclone will form within the next 5 days in this area, and that's the expected track of it. This may be something that we have to watch for a while. You know, it's going to take it a long time to get to us, and we'll see obviously a lot of changes between now and then, but let's see what it looks like now. All right, so this is the GFS global model, the 850 millibar wind speeds. This is just going to allow us to see where that notch in pressure is and where the greatest wind speeds in the upper levels of the atmosphere or the lower levels of the jet stream area are, so we can actually see where the center of circulation is for this storm and all that stuff. So it just makes it easier to see where the storm is when we look at this model, okay? As you can see here on Saturday around 8 a.m., there you go. That's a storm, all right? And we're gonna watch this thing. You know, usually you're like, okay, it's time for it to die out. You know, this area, it's not ready for hurricanes yet. Or this, you know, high pressure up here is just going to kind of suck it into it, and it's going to take it up that way. But we're going to keep pushing it forward, and it fights it, son. It's strong. It's staying down there, and we've still got a storm going on down here. And as you can see, it's heading directly towards the Caribbean. Now, according to the GFS, around Friday, July 2nd, this kind of just dissipates, and it does get caught up in our little Bermuda high over here. But just the simple fact that this is showing this, and it's been showing it for a while, and it's not the only model showing this. We have to watch it. We have to watch it very closely. This could easily be a storm that affects the United States in a significant way. And I do want to be here for you guys. And I want to make sure that I'm the first one that lets you know it's coming. All right. So stay tuned here with me. Subscribe to the channel. We are going to keep a very close eye on this. Yeah, I think that's all the weather talk I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn those notifications on. And I'm going to try to dedicate some time today as soon as the video goes up to try to answer some comments down in the comment section. So if you have a question for me, leave it down there, and I'm going to try my best to answer it, I promise. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.